All right, let's dive right into this explainer and unpack what has got to be one of the most audacious military feats in all of human antiquity. We're heading back to 332 BCE to a defining moment in Alexander the Great's campaigns, the Siege of Tyre. Now, when we talk about military history, we usually focus on big pitched battles or, say, clever flanking maneuvers. But what we're exploring today is just an absolute masterclass in relentless, sheer willpower. It's literally a story about looking at an impossible geographical roadblock and deciding to just pave right over it. So, how exactly do you conquer an island when you don't even have a navy? To really get the staggeringly high stakes here, we have to start with this ultimate strategic puzzle. Alexander was marching his army down the coast of Phoenicia. He desperately needed to secure his supply lines, and maybe even more importantly, deny the formidable Persian fleet a safe base of operations. But there was this massive, glaring problem standing in his way: the heavily fortified city of Tyre. And the kicker? The whole city was on an island. Just think about the stark contrast between these two forces when this whole standoff began. On one side, you've got the Tyrian defenders. I mean, they thought their city was completely impregnable. And honestly, they had every reason to. They're sitting pretty behind high stone walls, surrounded by open water, with a massive navy entirely controlling the seas. On the flip side, you have the Macedonian army. Sure, they're an absolute juggernaut on land, but right here, they were just stuck on the beach, staring out at an island half a mile away, dealing with incredibly vulnerable supply lines. Which brings us to part one, the unthinkable engineering feat. When the Tyrians flat out refuse to surrender, standard military logic says, well, bypass the impossible target or just try to wait them out. But Alexander didn't walk away. Instead, he committed to this truly out-of-the-box, kind of insane solution. He decided to literally redraw the map. He ordered his men to build a causeway, a massive artificial land bridge constructed directly into the sea to physically connect the mainland to the island. If he couldn't sail his army over, he was just going to pave the ocean and turn that island into a peninsula so his guys could march right up to the front doors. Half a mile. Let that sink in for a second. That is a massive expanse to bridge even today with modern technology. But Alexander's engineers were doing this straight into the ocean, where the water just kept getting deeper the further out they went. To actually pull this off, they chopped down entire forests and hurled thousands of stones into the depths just to build a foundation. And they didn't knock this out in a weekend. This monumental, back-breaking effort took 7 grueling months, all while working under constant, deadly bombardment from the city. And that leads right into part 2, escalation and counterattacks. As this crazy bridge pushed further and further into the water over those 7 months, the Tyrians woke up to the very real danger it posed. Now, at first, they actually mocked the Macedonians, right from their high battlements. But as that land bridge crept closer, the laughing stopped pretty fast. The Tyrians escalated big time. They started launching naval sorties and these devastating fire ships designed to completely torch the wooden construction. So Alexander had to adapt. He introduced towering siege engines for defense, and finally realizing he couldn't win this without controlling the surrounding water, he went out and scrambled together a formidable fleet of his own to shield his workers. To protect his incredibly exposed workers on the causeway from those relentless fire ships, Alexander showed just absolute unyielding determination. He tweaked his machinery to survive the inferno by building 2 massive, towering siege engines, and get this, draping them in raw, freshly flayed animal hides. I mean, it must have been a gruesome, incredibly foul-smelling sight, right? But it worked perfectly. It provided this critical, fire-resistant layer that can actually withstand the constant barrage of flaming arrows raining down on them, which sets the stage for part 3, the final breach. With those huge engines firmly planted at the front of the causeway and his newly gathered fleet successfully locking down the seas, this unthinkable land bridge actually reached the island walls. The ultimate climax had arrived. Step 1. Alexander unleashed a synchronized, overwhelming naval bombardment on the city's defenses. Step 2 capitalized on all that exhausting labor. He launched a direct, full-throttle infantry assault, charging right across his shiny new causeway. And this devastating multi-pronged attack culminated in Step 3. The supposedly impregnable walls were finally breached. Now, we have to impartially acknowledge that the resolution to this incredible 7-month standoff was just devastatingly harsh. Once those walls came down, the fall of Tyre was absolute. In keeping with the often brutal realities of ancient warfare, the conquest resulted in the total destruction of this formidable city and the mass enslavement of its population. The defenders who really truly thought their island was untouchable met a very grim end. Finally, let's look at part 4, overcoming the impossible. This ancient siege from over 2 millennia ago, it's still studied today, and for good reason. It is basically the ultimate case study in military innovation and problem solving. It perfectly highlights Alexander's winning formula. I mean, combining engineering ingenuity, naval power, and sheer tactical willpower. The Siege of Tyre proved that absolutely no defensive position, no matter how naturally isolated or artificially built up, was truly safe from his relentless innovation. The guy literally looked at the ocean and built a highway right through it. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. We've just explored a moment where geography itself was rewritten to achieve a goal. It really begs the question, if human engineering and just unwavering willpower can literally bridge the sea to conquer an impregnable island, is any barrier, physical or otherwise, truly insurmountable? Something to think about. Thanks for exploring this amazing piece of history with me today. Keep asking questions, and I'll catch you in the next one.